Boys and Girls Club of Stamford. The chief wants to rebuild the community's trust in the police and have positive interaction with those teens.
We've been listening, over the last 5-6 weeks. We've been listening to what people have been saying about really get out there. This is really about the youth. We want to change the storyline. So we're hoping that this is a small step with many more steps to go.
We want to get the kids out here and get them comfortable with the officers. We want to get the officers comfortable with having conversations with the kids so we can build those relationships so that these relationships that they build out here can carry over into the community.
The workouts are held every other Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 10:30.
We all have a civic responsibility to be responsible, all right? We can't be so quick to point the finger at the system, at the systems, and we're not being responsible for our own responsibility of what we need to do. We gotta remember that. We gotta be accountable to ourselves first before we point the finger at anybody else. We gotta remember that.
Being a police chief, brand new, 3 months here, I reach out to some of my officers. Scott really helps out, right? So I get a few people to show up, but then it's a matter of who comes from the community. So here's what I have, right? A lot of different faces, different weeks. I love it. I just hope you realize that police department is a brand new building. It's real shiny. There's a lot of doors in it. My door's always open, okay? While you're going through school. When you leave here and you go to college, you have some questions, you want to go in criminal justice, come see me, all right? My door's open. I appreciate what you did. And all your other friends that have come out here, I appreciate it, because this is not a success because we're here. It's a success because you can.
Hey, this is Alan Houston. I'm here at the Stamford Boys and Girls Club, and we're here getting ready for the new club summer camp here. And it's a beautiful new facility, and I'm just excited to be working with the Stamford Boys and Girls Club. Look, I know it's been tough over the last few months. I'm trying to be inside. We got a lot of energy, just ready to get out. And we're going to take every step that we can to make sure you can come back into the gym, be safe, and still develop, train, hone your skills. And so we're going to be doing that. I'm very excited. You've shown a lot of grit, you've shown a lot of resilience, a lot of mental toughness during this time. So now it's time to combine that with some physical activity in a safe way. And that's what we're here to do. So we've done some basketball drills today. We've done some shooting drills. We had the mayor, we had the chief of police, we had some of the young men from the Fizzle project and our program, the Outreach Mentoring Initiative. So we're going to continue to make this journey move forward in a safe way that you can grow physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and be the best you can absolutely be. And I'm looking forward to you all being back and enjoying. So let's get started. Let's go!
Hey, how you guys doing? We miss you. Hope all is well, especially during this pandemic. So we're gonna let you guys know what we're doing and what we're offering is on Zoom. So it is fitness and meditation. Woo! Can't wait to see you guys. We definitely want to let you guys know that we're doing this every Monday. Something new, something fun. Cool. Tune in. All right. The next thing that we have is Middle School Madness. Where the first thing that we're doing starting next week on a Wednesday is
To know you better.
you know, she picks up the slots if I mess up. So that's one of the things that we're doing. It's going to be dope. We're going to have a group of you guys and talk about some fun things.
Come hang out with us, guys.
Definitely. And something that I know your parents and everybody would love, tutoring. We are offering from 2 to 4 o'clock slots. First come, first serve. All right? I hope everybody's doing well. Just want to say peace. We love you.
Miss you.
dinner to us. We are so thankful. God bless you. Eggs are delicious. It was delicious. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye. God bless you. Bye.
Welcome to the International Women's Day presentation by the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford. My name is Karen Ward, and I'm Vice President of the Board of the club. I'm delighted to welcome you today to our discussion with some extremely accomplished women, led by our CEO, Rowena Track. Rowena joined the club nearly a year ago and has led us with great agility and leadership through these difficult times due to the various COVID-related changes the club has had to manage, literally starting from her first day on the job. Rowena spent 30 years of her career working at Fortune 100 companies, mostly in global roles, focusing on digital innovation and technology transformation. Some of her employers include Yale University School of Medicine, Bayer Healthcare, Citibank, and Cigna Corporation. Currently, she serves on the Board of Governors of the University of New Haven, where she is the Vice Chairman of the Audit Committee and a member of the Cybersecurity Advisory Council. I hope you enjoy these discussions. Rowena?
Thank you, Karen. Women have played a significant part in shaping our society. I can't even imagine a world without women. Women have been leaders of nations, heads of corporations, military and political figures. Women have overseen giant leaps in technological advances. Women's contributions to the economy, society, and politics continue to be remarkable. International Women's Day on March 8th is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. International Women's Day have occurred for well over a century, with the first International Women's Day gathering in 1911, with over 1 million people participating. At the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford, we instill at a very young age leadership skills, self-confidence, values, a sense of self, a belief that everything is possible and within their reach. We impress among our members the value of learning, growing, and expanding one's mind, horizons, and abilities. We want our girls and youth to soar, to be entrepreneurs, to define and own their future. We offer to our girls and youth programming in STEM, coding, athletics, and the arts. From challenge comes change. This year, the theme of International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. I choose to challenge empowerment. I will be calling out lack of empowerment of women and girls. What do you choose to challenge? Today, we have a legendary panel of speakers who will share their life experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future.
I choose to challenge gender bias within sports because a lot of men feel like they're the only gender that can play sports. It doesn't allow women to be themselves without being judged, and it can affect a woman's self-esteem because society says they don't have the right body to play sports, or that we as women are sensitive.
I choose to challenge equality because girls don't get treated the way boys do. Also, girls don't get paid the way boys do.
I am thrilled and delighted that Indra Nooyi is joining us today. Indra is the former chairman and CEO of PepsiCo, a Fortune 50 company with operations in over 180 countries around the world. Currently, Mrs. Nooyi is a member of the board of Amazon. She serves on the global leadership board at edX, the world's leading nonprofit online education platform. She is also a Dean's Advisory Council member at MIT School of Engineering and a member of the MIT Corporation. She is also the class of 1951 chair for the study of leadership at West Point. These are some among other roles Indra is currently involved in. Indra, please share with us something about your background that helped shape your career and life.
I'm an immigrant from India. I came here 40 years ago. And I'm a senior citizen now, so my experiences are very different than what young people go through today. I think the three things that really made a difference in my family, in my life, first is my family. I had a very strong family that provided all the checks and balances. It's interesting how checks and balances are very important. Second, I had men in my family, my father, my grandfather, who believed women can do as much as men and they should not be held back. So they pushed us to be on par with all the men. And third is I had mentors all through my life. Mentors showed up and said, I like what I see in this person, let me push her. And they didn't care that I was a woman. They just said, I like what I see. And they provided all the support and the mentorship. So these three things made a huge difference to making me who I am today.
Excellent. Thank you. Please share with us a situation where you chose to challenge. And how did that affect the trajectory of your career and life?
So the word challenge, sounds like a difficult thing. The way I look at it is a challenge presents an opportunity. And many people look at challenge as a difficulty. I looked at challenge as an opportunity because when you have a challenge and you can go after it, you can actually make a name for yourself. You can leave a mark. And so every time there was a challenging project, a challenging issue, just a challenge, I was the first one that put my hand up and said, I want to be part of it. Because it makes your brain more active, it breathes life into you, and challenges are what keeps you alive. So I was always up for a great challenge. I think back on all the challenges I got involved in. If I saw an injustice, I was out there trying to get involved to fix it. When the men were playing cricket, I said, why can't the women play cricket? So I formed a women's cricket team. When I was a kid, I wanted to form a women's rock band. They said, oh, what, women cannot be in a rock band? I said, okay, we'll form our own rock band. So anything that required breaking boundaries, challenging status quo, reframing society, I was at the edge of it. And now there's a big challenge that I'm taking on behalf of women and families. I want to make childcare a major issue for young families. During COVID, a lot of young families and women in particular struggled because schools were shut down and childcare was also shut down, and they couldn't do their work and take care of children and do everything and be successful. So women dropped out of the workforce in large numbers. So I've been writing a book about what does it take to keep women in the workforce and yet allow them to have families. And one of the biggest outages is care. Not just having a caregiver, it's how do you set up a childcare system that is affordable, available, and simply high quality. This is something that's my big challenge for International Women's Day.
So you challenge too?
I challenge to help set up a care system, a help setup, to advocate for a care setup that helps women and young families.
Excellent. Thank you very much. What advice do you give to young girls and young women early in their career, that would help them deal with the challenges they go through?
So I have some good news here. As I look at the numbers, 70% of high school valedictorians in our country are women. Over 50% of the top grades from colleges are obtained by women. Almost 60% of professional degrees are obtained by women. So women are wicked smart, they are driven, they want to be economically independent, they want to be financially independent. That's how women are evolving today. So I look at the next 2 decades and say it's a decade of women. I think the opportunities for women are profound. And if we don't employ women in the workforce, I don't think as a country we can be successful. Because we need the best brains working in our economy. And just think about it. If 70% of high school valedictorians and more than 50% of the top grades are from women, and you don't include them massively, then you're really recruiting from the other 50%, which is not the top grades, which is a terrible, terrible commentary. So I look at women and say, earned your place in society, you worked hard, you're driven, you've gotten to this point. Don't give up. Forge ahead. Have confidence in yourself. Just keep doing what you're doing. Work together as a sisterhood to make sure you support each other. And the future possibilities are endless.
Wow. That's great. How do you think women and girls might be able to shape a more equal world post a COVID-19 era?
I was reading something a couple of days ago which said, during the financial crisis, if Lehman Brothers had been Lehman Sisters, we would never have had the financial crisis. I honestly believe that If women ran every seat of power, there'll be less wars, there'll be less pandemics, there'll be less strife, and there'll be a lot more unity. Of course, I'm biased, but that's my optimistic utopian perspective. I think post-pandemic, women have to get together and address issues that really created problems for us and families. It created problems for women and for families during COVID. Let me talk about what they are. First, I talked about care. I mean, we now know that the care situation has to be addressed. We also know that inequality is an issue that has to be addressed. We cannot live with that too long. We have to figure out how to provide opportunities for everybody to rise so that everybody feels like they can live the American dream. And I honestly believe if women put their minds and hearts to it and work in concert with each other, we can solve any problem. I mean, I've been watching the old tapes of the women's suffragette movement. I've been watching what Gloria Steinem did. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, look at the odds that they had to fight. Look at all of the barriers that were thrown in their way, yet they emerged victorious. If they could have, in an essentially man's world, today there are a lot more women. So we have the critical mass. But let's put our hearts and minds to work on an issue that we think will make a difference to the country, to society, and then to women and families. So I'm very, very optimistic about the future.
Excellent. We need all the optimism in the world.
That's true.
That's great. Anything else you would like to share with us?
No, I just think the Boys and Girls Club is an outstanding organization. From what I'm hearing about the Stamford Boys and Girls Club, it's really a phenomenal institution for Stamford. So I want to compliment you all and hope you keep doing the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
I choose to challenge equality because girls and boys should have the same equal things, like jobs and go to school. I choose to challenge fairness because there are boy presidents, but there aren't any girl presidents.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce our next speaker, Margaret Keane. Margaret is Chief Executive Officer and a member of the Board of Directors of Synchrony, one of the nation's premier consumer financial services companies. She led the company's successful initial public offering in 2014 and separation from GE in 2015. Margaret has been recognized as one of Fortune's most powerful women for the past 5 years and American Banker's top 25 most powerful women in finance for the past 13 years. Fortune also named Margaret to their Business Person of the Year list in 2016 and 2019. Prior to Synchrony's founding, Margaret had an 18-year career with GE Capital. Margaret spent the first 15 years of her career at Citibank in various leadership roles. As president of Synchrony Foundation, Margaret developed Synchrony's citizenship platform, Families That Work, providing support to nonprofits that help low and moderate income working families move their lives forward. Margaret serves on the Allstate Corporation Board of Directors and the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center's boards of Overseers and Patient Care Committee.
Margaret, welcome and thank you for joining us on this International Women's Day. I am delighted to be speaking with you today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Margaret, lately you have been in the news that you will be stepping down as the CEO of Synchrony Financial, and you will become the executive chairman of Synchrony. Can you share with us what events in your life and what experiences have prepared you for this top role and something about your journey to this top level position?
So thank you very much. I'm very excited about this next journey. I was very lucky early on to get an opportunity to come over to what was then GE and worked my way up through that company. And back in 2013, they were doing some restructuring and decided to IPO our company. So, I was leading our business at that time. And I was lucky enough for them to choose me to lead the company to be an IPO. And as a result of that, led the IPO, brought the company public. I've been doing this role since 2014. Prior to that, I was the CEO since 2010. So, I've been in a CEO role for a while. And what I like to tell people is, shoot for the stars. I mean, I think people tend to second guess themselves, particularly women. They worry they don't have all the skills. And I think this is really about, developing your skill sets, really making sure you're open to new opportunities. Sometimes take those jobs that don't feel comfortable and push yourself and make sure that you have a seat at the table.
Margaret, what is it about your background that inspired you to get to this role?
A lot of people ask me, did you ever think you'd be a CEO? And I always say no. But I did aspire to make money. And I know that sounds funny, but we had a bit of a tragedy in my family. I grew up in a very big family, and my father passed away relatively young. And, we were always struggling to make ends meet. And I always knew that I was going to ensure that I worked really hard so I would never be in that position. And I was lucky enough to have achieved that. But I think when you come from a background where you have to work really hard to get what you want, which is what I did, it just gives you, I think, a good perspective. And I think it gives me something that, believe it or not, in this past year has been so important, which is empathy.
Can you think of a time throughout your life and career that you chose to challenge? And how did that affect the trajectory of your life and your career?
Yeah, I have three examples that I think are powerful. The first is I was the first in my family to go to college. And
Mm.
I know that sounds simple, but I did not have the money to do it. I had really wanted to go away to college. That wasn't going to be in the cards just because of the economic situation. So, I ended up finishing and going to St. John's University in Queens, which, I'm a board of trustee there now. I was very lucky to stay there and get my MBA as well. So I think, that decision to kind of fight the barrier of getting into college and then figuring out a way to pay for college, wasn't easy, but I achieved it. And I tell people all the time, you can do it. I worked three jobs through college, so that was a game changer for me personally. The second was when I made the decision to actually take a role inside of Citibank before I was at GE and Synchrony, where I knew that in order to really move up, I needed to own a P&L.
Mhm.
And I think this is an important element. A lot of women end up in roles that are not P&L driven. They tend to be the head of HR or the head of marketing. And the reality is to become a CEO or be a leader at the table, you really need to own a P&L. And I actually took a step backwards to move forward. So I actually went to my boss at the time and asked if I could run a P&L, and it meant that I had to go down a level, actually. And I did it. A lot of people thought I was crazy at the time, but it taught me a lot of things about making the numbers and understanding how the business works and understanding the balance sheet and all those things that become very important. So I thought that that was a bit of a career changer for me. And the last, obviously, was when I left Citibank. I'd been there for 16 years, had a great career, and moved over to GE, and that's really where my career took off.
Margaret, as you know, every year, International Women's Day choose a theme for the event. This year's theme is Choose to Challenge. What do you choose to challenge in 2021?
I think what I'm choosing to challenge kind of stems from what we started doing last year, which, I think one thing that happened last year, or many things happened last year, the combination of the pandemic and social injustice really came together. And I think highlighted for many people who are in business that we have to really figure out how to provide equality in our world and in our country. And I think I'm not I'm choosing to try to see how we accelerate that. How do we move people forward? How do we create more ladders for people to move up? And how can we, or me as a leader, really help in those different endeavors? And that's something that, I think is really important. I feel like For me personally, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I had to work hard for what I achieved. And I think we got to figure out how do we have more people have that opportunity and do it quickly. I choose to really change the pace of how we've been dealing with inequality in our country.
Excellent. Thank you. Margaret, as you know, in 2020 and through 2021, we are living in a global pandemic that is a challenge for everyone. What role do you think women and girls could have in shaping a post COVID-19 world?
Well, I think there's been a big challenge for women in the workforce for COVID-19, and I'm sure you're all reading that a lot more women are dropping out of the workforce um, through this process because of all the family challenges and all the priorities that are given women. I think, what I would say to women is, you need to really work for a company and have a career where you can figure out and look, it's hard to balance work and life, and it's gotten harder. I call it work-life harmony now because there's no home and trying to do it all. But I think you have to almost be honest with yourself what you're individually capable of. Some people can take on a lot more, they just can, others cannot. And I think as you're thinking about career and the pacing of what you're capable of, you have to put that whole equation together. But it can be done. This is what it can be done. And you can find companies that are willing to really support you and really help with childcare and help with all the things that end up on, in many cases, the woman's plate.
Margaret, thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Look, I think we have a lot to be thankful for and to celebrate. I think particularly as we see our first woman vice president and a woman of color to bat, which is great, I think. I would say to women, and this I've seen, and it's a bit frustrating as well. Women are capable of so much, really, so much. And I think in a world that is very fractured right now, one of the things women and women leaders bring to the table is, I think, broader perspectives and that word I used earlier, empathy. And I think if you look in the world and look at some of the leaders that have done an incredible job through this pandemic, guess what? They've been women. So I am extraordinarily hopeful that as a result of the pandemic and a result of what women have done, that you're going to see a lot more women in leadership positions going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
I chose to challenge victim blaming in 2021 because it silences the victims, it prevents others from coming forward, the abuser needs to be held accountable, not the victim, and it makes the abuser feel justified in their horrible actions.
I am delighted to be introducing our next speaker, Kathleen Sillard. Kathy is the president and CEO of Stamford Health, which offers world-class care provided by kind and caring people in a state-of-the-art setting. Kathy began her career as a nurse in the pediatric and the neonatal intensive care unit at Albert Einstein Hospital in New York, before entering the field of healthcare administration. Kathy currently serves on the board of directors of various healthcare organizations and is the recipient of several awards recognizing her dedication to the community. She is passionate about making a difference in the communities served by Stamford Health and committed to leading a team who provides person-centered care that values and respects patients' needs and preferences. Thank you, Kathy, for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
As you know, it's International Women's Day. It's a day to celebrate women's and girls' achievements around the world. My first question to you, Kathy, is what experiences did you have throughout your life growing up that shaped you and allowed you to be in the role that you are in today? What can you share with us?
Sure. Well, I have, I think, an interesting background in that I was born to immigrant parents who came to America. They were Irish immigrants, but they lived in England for about 7 years before they came to America. And for them, education was everything. And so I have one sister, and their goal was to make sure that we would get the best education. Very early on in my career, in my life, I knew that I wanted to be in healthcare as far back as I can even remember. And so I went into nursing as the start of my career, and I worked as a pediatric and neonatal ICU nurse. And I had a mentor early in my career, a woman who was very business savvy, and she ran a couple of the units. She was a leader in the organization at Albert Einstein Hospital, and she sort of took me under her wing, and she convinced me that I should pursue a master's degree. And so I went back and sought my master's degree in hospital administration. And she helped support me through that by being my mentor, coach, et cetera, because I came from a science background and I had to learn business, financial management, all things that were very new to me. I think what it's also shaped me is I'm a New Yorker. I'm sure you can hear that in my accent. I actually grew up in the Bronx, and what you see is what you get. I think I'm pretty authentic, and I say what's on my mind. So those are some of the things that have shaped who I am today, and I think in my leadership roles, all of them that I've had, it served me well to be very real with the people that I have led.
Thank you. This is great. So Kathy, as you know, the theme this year of International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. If you reflect back on your life and career, what is a moment where you chose to challenge that you can share with us, and how did that impact your life and career trajectory?
So I actually have two examples. Very early in my career, I would say I was probably in my early 30s, I saw a situation happening where the CEO of the organization that I was in was, to my eyes and to others, making a bad decision. And I saw that the medical staff and the board and the rest of the employees were afraid to tell him that he was going down the wrong path. And I was really afraid to tell him he was going down the wrong path. But he was a good man, a good leader, and I just felt like he was making a bad decision. And so one day, I mustered up the courage to go into his office, and I laid out for him what I thought were the pitfalls of the decision that he was making and what I was hearing around the organization. And I was very honest with him. And he, at first, was taken back, and I was really nervous. But he actually then thought about it, reflected on it, and he changed direction. And later on, he thanked me for having the courage to come forward. So sometimes you have to take a chance. Yes. It won't always work out. But it did in this situation. And it actually emboldened me for other decisions I had to make. And it also actually formulated a really strong relationship between him and I. The other situation is very recent. So during COVID-19, we were a hotspot safety net hospital, and we were receiving patients so quickly that even with staffing up, adding resources as much as we could muster, I was really frightened that we might not be able to care for the patients that were coming into our organization. And so there were daily calls with the governor's office and with his COO, who was helping to organize the statewide response to the pandemic. And on a Saturday, I called him and I said, I think I need more help. And he listened, and the National Guard came. I'm sure the whole community heard about it, and 110 people came and helped us over a weekend stand up the old hospital, helped us to staff, expanded our staffing capabilities. We only really probably needed a quarter of what they provided. Thankfully, COVID-19 began to decrease in its intensity in our community, but I feel that I made the right decision to bring in those resources so that we would never falter in our care to the community.
Yes, thank you. That's a very powerful example. And I want to take this opportunity actually to thank you for your service to the Stamford community in this very difficult time.
Oh, thank you. It's the 3,600 employees back there that made it happen. They they inspire me every day.
And your leadership was critical in this incredible time. So, Kathy, you know that the theme this year is Choose to Challenge. What do you choose to challenge in 2021?
So one of the areas that my husband and I have become very involved in is food insecurity. It is shocking in an area that's as wealthy as Fairfield County, how many people and children go to sleep hungry every night. And so in our organization, we've gotten involved with Fairgate Farms through the Vita Health and Wellness group, which we are an anchor organization in. And what Fairgate Farms is really a volunteer-driven, socially responsible farm that actually services the community. But more than that, we've been getting involved in neighbor to neighbor in our own community. And I feel that it's such a basic need. If people don't have the food they need to be able to provide sustenance to themselves and their family, how can they face anything else? So I choose to challenge food insecurity in 2021.
Thank you. Thank you. So Kathy, you're in the healthcare field, and how do you see women and girls globally shaping a post-COVID-19 world? What might their contributions be to help the world emerge from this devastating situation?
You know, I think never before in our nation has there been a more important time for women to emerge as being relevant in this situation. And I think when you look back at what has happened in our country, I think those that have been marginalized, finally, women included, are going to have a voice. We now even have a woman vice president, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I think women can do is that this situation, this pandemic, shined a light on how disparities impacted the health and the outcome for our world. And I think what women can do is really to figure out how we can change the outcome for those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, because we talk about race and ethnicity, and they're all very important, but underlying that is the fact that individuals who did not do well in this nation or who have not done well, it is because they are socioeconomically disadvantaged. And so I think if women can actually stand up and figure out how we can, young girls especially, with their whole lives in front of them, really pay attention to those who are not getting access to everything they need, and to be able to figure out a way to help to change that.
Fantastic. So Kathy, at the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford, we instill self-confidence, leadership skills at a very young age in girls, and actually in all our members, not just girls, girls and boys. What message do you have to young girls who aspire to be in your role one day?
So one of the things that I think is really important is to just continue to be a self-learner. And I have 3 boys, and one of the things I've always said to them is always be willing to put your hand up and say you're willing to take on more responsibility. Obviously, be sure that you can ultimately come through and be successful, but figure it out. Learn how to take on the new challenge that you might be not completely sure that you know how to do. And one of the things that I think is really important for women is to be willing to stand up and put themselves forward in a way that they can continue to be relevant in their organization. At Stamford Health, we did something a couple of years ago with our employees where we created something called the Say Yes culture. And it came out of hearing that sometimes between departments, people weren't helping each other as much as they could. And so we did this campaign about Say Yes. And it really stuck. It resonated with our employees, and it became something that became part of the fabric of our culture. And so we say yes to our coworkers, we say yes to our community, we say yes to our patients, of course, more than anything. Always figure out a way to make it happen. And so sometimes I'll be walking down the hallway and I'll see one of our employees actually going the extra mile for a patient, maybe taking them out to the door to show them the way or helping them get a cup of coffee when it's really not their job. And when I commend them on that, they say to me, well, Kathy, we have a say yes culture. And I'm like, yes, we do. Yes, we do. It makes me really happy. But I have one more piece of advice for women also, in that, you know, women are now real leaders in our society, but they're also caregivers. We know that women are often the leaders in the family, and I think that they need to pay attention also to taking care of themselves, getting enough sleep, exercise, rest, relaxation, because we can, you know, go. And if we don't refuel our batteries, we're not going to be as effective as we need to be when we're called upon to do that. So that's my advice for young women. Say yes, take good care of yourself, and always be willing to learn and grow.
This is excellent. I'm going to take your advice about self-care.
We're all working on that. I have a lot of work to do on it myself.
Start working out myself.
Yeah,
I need to do that. So this is great. Kathy, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just think that this is such a wonderful opportunity for us to shine a light on the opportunities for women in our world today to grow and learn and become leaders. And I want to say hats off to the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford for all that you're doing, all the programs that you have in place to give that lift to women, men, and families and help them to be all that they can be. So my gratefulness to you for all you're doing.
Kathy Sillard, thank you very much.
Oh, you're my pleasure.
We appreciate your taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Allison. I chosen to challenge the boys to not pick on girls because girls get hurt and they have feelings and they don't like when boys do that.
I chose to challenge undermining women in their experiences by not talking over them, acknowledging their feelings and experiences, and listening and adjusting when confronted about harmful behavior.
It's my utmost pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Juanita James. Juanita is president and CEO of Fairfield County's Community Foundation. Formerly, she was Pitney Bowes' Chief Marketing and Communications Officer and a member of the Chairman's Council. Juanita enjoyed a 20-year career with Time Warner and Bertelsmann, holding several senior executive positions, including president and CEO of Time Life Libraries. Ms. James is a director for Asbury Automotive Group, a director for First County Bank, and audit committee chair for Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. Juanita was named a 2018 Most Influential Corporate Director from Women Inc. Presently, Juanita is vice chair of the Board of Trustees of Lesley University and a trustee emerita of Princeton University.
I am thrilled to welcome Juanita James to this program celebrating International Women's Day 2021. What can you share with us? Something about your background that helped shape your life and your career.
Well, the first thing I will say is that I am the child of a single mother who was an immigrant. So I'm a first generation American in my family. And that formed many of my values and my approach to life's challenges. Because as a single parent, my mother faced a lot of challenges, including discrimination with respect to pay equity, and the assumption that she was not able to make her own decisions in terms of, from a work perspective. I also, because I am from, my country is British Guiana, originally was British Guiana, it's Guyana in South America. I had the benefit of growing up in two cultures, but the cultures are very different, particularly with respect to, at that time, how women were treated. And one of the reasons my mother left that country is that it was so class-based. She felt that in America, she would have more of an opportunity to educate her child, and for, you know, that the educational opportunities would give me better opportunities in life.
So, Juanita, what was a situation? Can you share a situation with us in your life where you chose to challenge?
To share two, if that's okay.
Yes.
The first was, as a senior in high school, I had the highest grade point average in the entire school. I had the second highest scores for my SATs. I had gotten 100 on the geometry regions, which was a statewide test, and a 97 on the chemistry regions, which was also a statewide test. And I was president of the National Honor Society and a number of clubs at the school. The guidance counselor tried to discourage me from applying to any Ivy League university. She told me I should apply to, at the time, a state university that had no standards for admission. And I challenged her and I asked her if she would have given that same advice to some of my white counterparts who didn't have the same grades and accomplishments, which she resented. So I actually ignored her and applied to Cornell, Princeton, and NYU and got into all three universities.
Wow.
Furthermore, I got a full scholarship to Princeton, which was a life-changing opportunity moment for me. The second time I challenged was in my professional career. And again, in many ways, it related to education. I was offered an opportunity to attend the Columbia Graduate School of Business executive program. And my company was a traditional supporter of sending executives to that program. It was a very expensive 2-year MBA program. But they had never really sent an African American woman to the program before. And when the suggestion came from one of the senior leaders in the organization, my CEO of my division determined that I didn't have the qualifications and he didn't think I would be able to actually exceed in that program. So he insisted on having one of his other financial executives also attend the program. And with the intent that, and he actually spoke to the people at Columbia to say, he may need to help her along. Well, I immediately challenged that and said we should be in two separate sections. I did not want to be in the same section because I didn't want any influence over what I was accomplishing, what I was studying, what I was learning, to be somehow misrepresented by someone else having to do the work for me because I wasn't able to do it myself, which was the assumption. And not only did I succeed in that program, when I graduated, I got the Distinguished Service Award from the Graduate School of Business. So I was very proud of the fact that not only did I meet expectations, I exceeded them. So those are two examples of someone telling me that I wasn't qualified, and I challenged that and exceeded expectations.
Well, congratulations on both. These are two very powerful examples, and congratulations on being accepted to 3 Ivy schools, not just one. Juanita, what do you choose to challenge in 2021?
I choose to challenge equity in 2021. We are still a long way from achieving equity for women and for people of color. And when I say that to say that we need to make sure that people have the opportunity to be successful and to provide the resources for people to be successful. It's not about treating everyone the same. It's about giving everyone the same opportunity to realize their potential, which means you need to have a little deeper understanding of what that means.
Thank you. Juanita, you're a highly accomplished executive. You have achieved high-level positions in life. What advice do you give to young aspiring girls who wish to achieve similar, objectives in life and who wish to be in your role one day?
Well, One piece of advice I will give young girls is that you must be prepared. You need to know and identify what the requirements are for what your aspirations are. So it's very important to learn as much as you can from as many sources as you can about what the requirements are to achieve your dreams. And then you have to really put in the time and the effort to do the work to achieve the accomplishments. I also think it's very important to surround yourself with people who believe in you, who will challenge you, who will be honest with you, so that you really have that right balance of self-confidence and self-esteem, but you don't cross over that line to arrogance. And that's a very fine line between being self-confident or being self-entitled or arrogant. And when you have people who genuinely care about your success and who you are as a person, they will give you honest feedback. They will tell you what you're doing well, and they will also give you advice as to what you should be doing better. And it's so important to listen and to be open. I believe that one of the most successful traits that have helped me to get to where I am is my ability to listen and understand and relate to other people, to genuinely care about their success, to genuinely understand what their needs are, and to be open to those who have not necessarily have the same points of view.
That's very true. Thank you. I like actually maintaining the balance between self confidence and arrogance. It is so true. And that's a very good advice. Thank you. Juanita, you know, the world, the globe, our country and the globe had been ravaged with COVID 19. What, in your view, our girls, our youth, and women, how can they shape a more equal and equitable future post COVID 19?
Several things. I believe, number one of the things that has led this to this point is our lack of understanding and our lack of understanding of science and not being informed. It is really important to be informed and to know who the experts are and do your research and trust the right resources to do the work. The second thing that we have to do is understand the extent to which policy and other areas have an influence on our daily lives. We've lost the ability as a country to be civically engaged and to really understand current events and how local things affect us. Any other country in the world, and I have visited a lot of countries, you can sit down in a taxi and the taxi driver will be really informed about current events, what's going on, who the leaders are, what the positions are. We don't really teach civic engagement in this country the way we should. And I think we have seen the detriment of the country, what that is. So if we want to look at the disparate effects that COVID-19 has had, not only on our total population, but particularly on people of color, women, people who don't have the same resources, we've got to learn and listen and make sure that we educate ourselves and inform. And then it's very important to speak up, to have a voice, to engage if you have the access to others who have influence, to use that voice.
This is excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Juanita. Is there anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
The only thing I'd like to add is it's so important to have what I call the emotional, intestinal, and spiritual fortitude to encounter challenges and to overcome them. And Resilience is such an important part of, we will all make mistakes, we will all get knocked down, we will all face some type of challenge, and having the emotional fortitude to say, I will fight to overcome this challenge, is really important in terms of one's personal well-being as well as one's professional or successful well-being.
Resilience and fortitude. Two very strong words. Thank you. Juanita James, thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time and the wisdom that you have shared with us today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I am so happy that we are celebrating International Women's Day because we are the ones who are going to change this world for the better.
That's right. And at the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford, we really want our youth, our young members to hear this, and hopefully that will help shape them as individuals and help shape their future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am glad you were able to join us to reimagine the future of women. I want to thank our speakers for sharing with us their thoughts, experiences, and aspirations. Let us bring hope and strength for 2021 as we look ahead to what we can achieve together. Thank you for your continued support of the Boys and Girls Club of Stamford.